Hello, eRank. Happy June and welcome to another live Q&A. I nearly said July. I've got no idea what month it is.
I don't
Yeah,
know what
welcome to another live with me, Pam Duffy, and her Starla Moore. And guys, we're really going to need your help today with loads of questions because, yeah, we were talking before we came on, and I think we're both burnt out and not retaining any information just now. So help us out.
Yeah, we only had one early submitted question from the Facebook group. So you guys are going to have to entertain us. Otherwise, we're going to have to sit and talk about Etsy's May 28th transparency report. And there's nothing really, it's nothing really exciting in that. So we figured that it might be more fun for you guys to, I mean, we can talk about it if you want to. Or I can just link it in the chat and you guys can look at it on your own. Because like I said, there's not a whole lot in it, but I like to read them every year. So if you're one of those folks who likes to see what Etsy is, it's basically them kind of patting themselves on the back for the things that they did last year. So it's not like anything that they're doing now. So
Exactly. Yep.
All right, let's see. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and grab from the Facebook group, and then Jessica's got some a fun suggestion too. But from the Facebook group, with Etsy moving into Pinteresty vibes, is this the right time to get rid of any text on your main images? So, excuse me. This was in reference to on Tuesday, I published a video talking more about Etsy's most recent mobile experience, I guess, because they've really been refining the mobile app. And that's one of the things that Josh Silverman talked about during the Q1 investors call. And basically now on the mobile app, you've got those things that are kind of, similar to things that you've looked at in the past. Like here's a little collection of products that are similar to what you like. But then there's this big long feed of different products, and it doesn't show the title. It doesn't show your shop name or anything. The only thing that you see is a big feed like Pinterest of images with the heart icon, if you want to favorite it. Yeah, there you go. And you can, expand those images or click on them and it opens the listings. Now, I did have a couple people who were nervous because they asked, like, is this going to kill our conversion rates? Like, is this going to hurt my listings? No, because this isn't coming from direct search. This is just, Etsy's not going to penalize you for showing off your products and then having people check them out. I highly doubt that that's anything that's, negative. But in terms of not putting text on the images, that's not really something that we're encouraged to do anyway. If you're selling things like digital products where you need to clarify that it is a digital download, I see a lot of people put, like a little banner towards the bottom. I wouldn't stop doing that simply because I don't think that these little curated feeds, I just don't feel like those are the types of products we're going to see in these curated feeds. These curated feeds really feel like stylized images. They feel like those really like almost professional photography worthy images. And I'm not saying that, that we won't see images with text, but if text is necessary for the context of your product, I wouldn't go in and change anything. I mean, you could always test. But for the most part, I think that, if you've got a product that doesn't need text, you shouldn't have text on it to begin with. If the text is necessary, then I wouldn't get rid of it, because obviously if it's necessary, then it's necessary.
Yeah. And with any Etsy change, especially with the images and stuff, I wouldn't go changing all your listings immediately. Etsy tests lots of things to see what's happening. So yeah, perhaps when you're taking some photos, think of how it's going to look in this place and have a wee test with it. But I see so many people, like every time Etsy makes a change and they're like, oh no, now I've got to shoot all my photos in this ratio, or I've got to do all my photos like this. And quite often it is just a test. So we don't know how much, like Etsy's experimenting with what works with the app just now. So don't change everything at once. And absolutely, if text is needed and working on your photos, if you have the bestseller in your niche and you've got text on your photos, leave it alone for just now.
Yeah, because I mean, it's only by chance that you'll even end up in this little curated feed. So don't mess up what's working for you for the chance that you might show up in this curated feed. Because I mean, obviously we don't have data to back it, but it's pretty easy to speculate that most purchases are still going to come from search. It's people who know what they want to buy. They search for what they want to buy, and then they pick a thing out and they buy it. This little curated feed might be fun for discovery. And like Etsy said, getting shoppers to spend time on Etsy for fun. Oh, this is cool. Favorite it, favorite it, favorite it. You might get a lot of hearts if you end up in these feeds, but I still feel that most purchases are going to come from direct search because it's people who actually know what they want. They have a legit need. It's not just people who are impulse buying because they saw something pretty while they were sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see.
mean, Josh did say they are wanting to move towards a browse experience, but wanting to move and being immediately ready to do that, these kind of things take time, very much so. And it could even be like, yeah, you're getting entertained, you're on the toilet scrolling and you get some ideas. It's the same as like what you see on your social media or something. You'll then go and you'll think, oh, I love that bat thing that I saw there, and you'll search for the thing. Quite often people do that. So yeah, nothing's going to change massively quickly, probably.
Let's see. Jessica asked us to debunk this post from Threads. Was it the Let's Talk Etsy algorithm? It loves real engagement. Likes, follows, and favorites can boost your visibility more than you realize, sometimes even more than paid ads.
Yeah, well, I can't debunk that because it's true based on one word there. It loves real engagement.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. Um, Etsy algorithm, well, the Etsy algorithm gods, the people creating that, what they have been fighting against ever since Etsy had an algorithm was fake engagement. So anything where you're manipulating likes and follow, all of that,
Yeah.
that's not good. But where people organically find you and they love what you've done, if your followers on social media really like a post that you've created and they go to your shop and love it and a bit of engagement, absolutely great. Yes. That's a factor Etsy tells us the algorithm is looking at. Obviously, sales and reviews the most important, but likes and clicks and finding when they find you, especially in search, and they love what they see, even if they can't buy it, if they're liking you more than the next person that Etsy can show, then Etsy will still show you more than the next person. So
Right. And that's organic. I'm assuming that this is the part that drop your shop link below and I'll show your store some love. Here's mine too, shop link. Let's grow the organic way, community over ads. That's not organic. That's organic is a real shopper browsing and searching. So yeah, I think this is what she wanted us to debunk. That's not organic. That's a like ladder. Like
yeah.
ladders telling everybody go show my shop some love, go favorite my shop. That's the opposite of organic. That's traffic funneling. It's not going to hurt you, just like we talk about the conversion rates and, not worrying about sharing your shop on social media because it doesn't matter if people look and don't buy. Etsy wants us to send traffic, but they're not going to reward a big flood of traffic that you've gamed. That and nor is that organic. Organic is taking is someone who is already naturally shopping. Yeah, oops, meant the second half. No, I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are literally, that's the games that we're talking about that Etsy's been fighting against forever. So absolutely, that's not good. As Starla says, is it going to hurt you? No. What happened is these things used to help. Etsy used to bake into the algorithm number of likes, number of views. That's a great thing. We're going to boost this shop up, and people played games. we would, I say we because I was part of it because it worked. So, hey, don't knock it if something's actually really working. But there would be games in the forums and everywhere, and it'd be drop your shop, go in and like everybody else's in the ladder here, and you'll get tons of views. So Etsy made it very, very simple that all the likes and stuff that weren't coming from a search term don't factor as much as people organically coming from a search term. They just made it easy to just say it's not quite as important. But the other thing, to an extent, that kind of hurts because social media has learnt about it. If somebody goes round all the groups that you're in and goes, hey, drop your shop, and everybody, either the mods delete that and ban the person from the group, or everybody ignores it because they're sick fed up of this spammer, then the social media is basically going to stop showing your posts less because they're going to say, hey, Starla's a spammy person, nobody likes what she's posting, let's stop showing it. So it can hurt you that way, and it can hurt you time-wise. That takes time to go around. And if you were actually honestly doing it, saying, I'll drop my link and I'll like everybody else's, that takes a lot of time. When I was talking about the games, seriously, people used to employ people to play these games on
Click
behalf of their
farms.
job. Yeah. But I know people, like, they paid their kids or something on holiday to play these games. It did work at the time. It doesn't work now. But we've all seen it. I mean, thankfully it's got less, but people will spam Facebook groups, Instagram, everything, and go, oh, follow. And I just look at them and go, bless your heart, you're 20 years out of date here. That's not how
Right.
stuff works. So,
I don't know how
yes,
it happened, but we were up to 1,500 viewers there for a minute, and now we're back down to 1,001. So I don't. Hello.
yeah. I was watching it. So, like, if everyone can give us a like, because I think YouTube's glitching.
Yeah, I don't believe it one bit, but I guess
We'll enjoy it. But yeah, I've done occasional streams with 1,000 people in the chat scary fast. So
But hey, if there really are 1,000 of you here, you have access to any answers you need about Etsy SEO. So stick them in the chat. We would love to answer them because we
absolutely.
said at the beginning we don't have a lot of questions pre-submitted today. We need some good questions. So give us your questions. But Anna had asked, I know Etsy doesn't like collage images now, but is that only for the main thumbnail? I believe that they're only flagging the main thumbnail within the oh, what's it called? I can't.
It's the visibility, isn't it?
Yeah, the visibility standards. I believe that it's only the main thumbnail that they're looking at, because what they really want to do is encourage people to investigate your listings further. And when you're thinking about a search page, if you're utilizing a collage image that will just say that it's bisected into 4 quadrants, 4 different images within your thumbnail, you have to think about, especially on a tiny screen, how small that image realistically, if there's 4 images within your main thumbnail, all on a tiny screen, you're getting smaller and smaller and smaller until what you really need the customer to see is only this big. If they can't quickly distinguish what they're looking at, they're just going to click off of that list, or scroll right by it. They're probably not even going to click on it. So that's what Etsy's trying to avoid. Now, context is everything. Some listings, there are reasons where a listing might need to have a collage. I can't think of any examples that, right now, but I have seen examples of it being necessary.
some in my niche have, some of the top sellers have this because we're making custom sculptures from someone's pet. So quite
so the
often
real
they'll do
photo.
picture in picture. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
and that
I
gets
think
flagged, but they're the top sellers. So
yeah, it's not like you're not an algorithmic disadvantage. Etsy isn't saying we're going to penalize you because this listing has a collage. They're saying that, hey, if your traffic isn't as good as you want it to be, this might be the reason. Try uploading a photo that isn't a collage. But if you've got a listing that's selling really, really well and Etsy's making that suggestion, just ignore it, because they're not going to penalize you for it. They're just saying if you're not getting the traffic you want, this could be one of the issues.
Yeah, the section is Etsy search visibility. which I think this freaked a lot of people out, because visibility and ranking aren't the same thing. It's similar, but it's not quite the same thing, because what goes into visibility is also your conversion and everything. How people like you when they see you will go back into your ranking score, and you'll get seen more in search. So it's not saying necessarily we've suddenly dropped you down in ranking. Like if your bestseller was a collage, I've got a few of my listings are collages. They didn't suddenly drop in ranking, they just stayed where they were. So yeah, like Starla says. And I think we had someone last week or the week before, they keep getting flagged. They've got a picture of like a glow in the dark, glowing item. So you want to show that's got to be a dark picture. And that'll get flagged as well. But that's how it's not a clever system. It's flagging based on light levels or pixelation across a picture. It's nothing to do with, it's like the average values. It's nothing to do with if it's a good picture.
Yeah. Let's see. Have either of you personally played around with Etsy ads recently, since they've added a little more info for the keywords? Thoughts? I haven't, but Pam, you're nodding, so I hope you have.
Yep. I've been running the ads. I have to say, I put my ads back down to $1 a day, because I won't say they're not doing good. They're about the only place I'm getting any sales from, but they're a struggle as well. Unfortunately, it's hard to compare apples with apples for ads just now, because everybody's struggling. There's no denying things are difficult. So when things are struggling, a lot of people freak out and put money on ads. So ads become more expensive, so they become less efficient. This isn't just Etsy. Even Etsy mentioned this thing with things like Facebook, offsite ads. Etsy have struggled the past couple of years with offsite ads because everybody else is pumping money into offsite ads, so they're more expensive. So on-site ads for Etsy, it's the same. It's hard to say what's working because everyone's struggling. A lot of people are pumping a lot of money into ads. But I do like, if you haven't used ads for a while yet, we used to have the little thing talking about, if this keyword's irrelevant, this is a test, turn off this irrelevant keyword. And now they are saying, and I believe at the note, it doesn't just say if this is irrelevant, they say something like if this is a badly converting keyword. So they are being more honest, which I think is good, because certainly you can go in and switch off keywords. So I've done things like I'm switching off my shop name, because I'm going to show up for that anyway. Switch off, potentially if you were getting shown, it's unlikely, but if you were getting shown for something like ring, a really broad keyword, that's probably a very expensive one that's not getting you a lot of sales, go in and switch off that. So we have a little more ability to play around with things. It's hard for me to say what's working because ads are hard just now. So, yep, sadly.
I haven't gotten to play with it yet, so now I feel like I want to go turn some ads on just so I can.
It's worth doing it. The only problem I've found, and I've spoke to Etsy, you're supposed to be able to look back at your keywords for the past 30 days, and it's only the 30 days that you can turn off the keywords. But I think their system isn't 30 days and it's this month. So when the new month ticks round, like 5 days ago, you had all the keywords and suddenly there's no keywords. So I've spoke to Etsy a few times about this. So when you go in and you can see the keywords on your ads, make sure and check the data. I'll see if I can show you guys this, because I don't have any secret data in my shop. I'll see if the data's there, because I say sometimes it's not there. Hopefully. No, it's like I said, right. I'll show you where it should be, and it's not there just now. Thank you, Etsy. So when you are in your ads and you pick on a certain item, when you come down to here, it should show you the targeted keywords and orders over the last 30 days, but always at the beginning of the month for me, that resets back to 0. But when it's there, you can click on this and it'll show you the keywords that your ads were getting found for. And there's a little slider that you can turn off ones that are irrelevant, which is pretty cool. But as I said, Etsy had this glitch. Every time I've contacted them, they say everything's right at my end. I'm like, nope, nope. So towards the end of the month, check your ad stats, go in and do that. Get rid of the irrelevant keywords. I believe it should. They're saying it does something now. It is switching off those keywords, so that's a good thing. I know there was the problems a few years ago with people, like if someone was searching for Gucci handbags, Etsy's going, well, Shona's got a handbag, that'll do, and you're getting ad clicks for Gucci handbag, and you don't want that. So switch off irrelevant things.
Ooh, I like this question, Michelle. Why are so many of the top listings under the keyword tool bad? Repetitive, one word, missing tags, bad pictures, etc. I'm always surprised to see it when I'm doing research. So there's two reasons that could be. The first reason is that if it's a newer listing, Etsy moves those listings around. They test them for different types of people. They rank them high. They give them a little boost, and they use that, little bit of time to see how customers interact with that listing to try to figure out what the item is and what type of people are most likely to buy it. So they spend that time seeing what types of customers are engaging with that listing. So sometimes you will see listings that aren't that great ranking high because Etsy's just testing them out. They won't stay there though. But then sometimes you also see listings that have been around for a really long time. And, maybe it's because that listing got a ton of traffic from, maybe it's a big TikToker shouted it out and a bunch of people bought it. And Etsy was able to, very, very quickly figure out that this is a really great listing that people like. Or, maybe the listing's just been around so long that Etsy has plenty of data on it. And despite having really bad keywords or one-word keywords, Etsy's figured it out. This is why we tell you guys, even if you have a bestseller that doesn't follow Etsy's best practices when it comes to SEO, don't change it, because Etsy has figured out what it is and who they should be showing to, what types of customers they should be showing it to. So based on either, whatever data that Etsy has on this listing, thank you, dear, whatever data Etsy has on this listing, they've figured out the best possible market for it. And in spite of those bad keywords or missing tags or bad pictures, they have established the best possible market for that keyword. Therefore, the listing quality score for that keyword is probably very high, or that listing is probably very high. So Etsy's ranking it higher because they know this is a winning listing and it's more likely to make us money and make the sellers money. So it's one of those two things. It's either, or three things, I guess you should say. It's either that it's a new listing and Etsy's testing it out. It's a listing that gained a bunch of traction from somewhere off of Etsy. So maybe, traffic got funneled from social media and the listing quality score was, able to grow and grow and grow from those sales. And now Etsy's ranking it high because they know it's a winning listing that people like. Or it's a listing that's been around so long that Etsy has, already figured out through the amount of time that it's been listed what types of customers they should be showing it to and what that item is based on, even if they're bad keywords, based on the keywords that the sellers added.
Yeah, there's a secret answer number 4 as well. And that's to do with, we just mentioned visibility. It's to do with ranking versus visibility. So specifically firstly, I'll cover bad pictures. Pictures are subjective. It might be good enough. Like, I have some of my listings that are doing well, the pictures are from 2010. They're like 4 cameras ago. I've learned a heck of a lot since then, but the customers still like those pictures. Quite often you'll see maybe, a little blown out or a little janky. It might be what you look at and you don't think's good as a picture, but it might be good enough that it shows the item and the person knows that you're real. Like, I've seen so many people say, I've got this beautiful image, and they've got basically an AI generated mock-up, and it is beautiful, but it's also a little bit creepy. It sets your like teeth on edge and goes like, that's not real. So if things look too good to be true, that could be a problem. But it's the tags bit I want to get into, the one word tags, because that's the difference between ranking and visibility as well. So imagine we had people were searching, imagine lots of people were searching for this. They're not, but the keyword bronze and opal steampunk engagement ring. Now that's too long for a single tag. So nobody has a benefit from exact match for that tag. Nobody for that keyword. No one can put the whole keyword into a tag. So everybody has to break them up. So if you've broke them up into 2 tags, bronze and opal steampunk engagement ring, or you've broke them up into each individual word as a tag, the ranking power for that keyword is exactly the same across both listings. Etsy isn't marking you and saying one word tags, no, that's bad, we'll mark you down. It's saying, do we have enough information to know that both these listings are relevant for bronze and opal steampunk engagement ring? Yes, tick the box, good enough. So that's ranking power of what you've done with your SEO. Visibility is a different thing. If you only have one word tags, then you only have a chance to get seen for any combination of those 13 words. If you have 2 word tags, then that exponentially increases the number of words that Etsy can mix and match to get you seen across more search terms. So we say don't use, well, Etsy says don't use one word tags, not because you're going to get ranked lower, but it's got less chance to understand what your item's about to show it in more searches. So it's not that this is the thing you've got to look at. There's more factors to what makes a good listing. It's not just ranking, it's also matching. So that's visibility, being seen across a whole lot of things, and it's conversion. What are customers going to like? With tags, that's nothing to do with conversion really. In general, customers can't see that. Photographs is conversion in general, although Etsy's showing your listing visibility type thing and flagging up things it doesn't like, but your photos are based on what the customer thinks. And if it's a good enough photo that the customer is able to fall in love with your item, even if it's not aesthetically the most brilliant photography, good enough. So you're saying you've found listings that don't look so great. If they're not brand new, potentially they're good enough. You just have to be good enough. SEO is part of the puzzle. There's so many other bits that lead into it. There's that external traffic, those followers you already have. I'm sure, there's some really big YouTubers and stuff. They launch a product, they've got so many followers, it doesn't matter if their photo doesn't even include the product. People, they've got authority, they're driving people, it'll do well. So there's all little boxes that feed into it. If we don't have a massive social media following, if we aren't great at marketing and all these things, we have to big up the SEO because that's the part of the puzzle that we can excel at, basically. But you still have to work on the other parts.
I love this comment. Professional might not be what people want when it comes, or when they come to shop for handmade. Almost makes it look like it's mass produced. I mean, there are photos that are a little too professional. I think I feel that way about a lot of mock-ups. That's why I order samples for my POD shop and photograph them myself, because I don't want to blend. I don't want to blend into every single other shop who uses the exact same mock-ups. I can tell immediately when a shirt is a mock-up, and it doesn't tell me anything about the texture of the shirt or even the print itself. I've ordered printed shirts and it feels almost papery, like uncomfortable, versus shirts that are printed really well. So I definitely agree. I think that, your idea of what a good photo is means nothing. What you think is a good photo might be completely different than what people are actually willing to click on and purchase.
Yeah. The past few years, it's really changed. I follow some, because I think it's fascinating, some product videographer people, and the shot, like they use robot arms to get burgers to fall into one place. Now it's magic, but they are saying that people are now wanting less polished videos because it looks so beautiful. It wasn't it's not really the item. People want to see the item, and people are absolutely understanding that if something's too perfect, it's not what you're going to get. I
Yeah.
I have to confess very much with t-shirts. If I'm buying something, I'll just keep buying from the same place because I know the quality. Because yeah, you can look on some places. Basically, if your shop has the exact same mock-up with cut and paste of your design on it, I know that's not what I'm buying. I want to see what I'm buying. So
Yeah.
it's tricky. It costs a bit more, but it's much better to have the real item on hand.
It's like if I'm shopping on like a site like Amazon, there's always like a supermodel in the outfit, and I don't even look at the photos for the listing. I scroll down to the reviews, and then I try to find the person that, has a body shape that kind of fits mine. Like, I look at the review photos because that's going to be more honest. It's going to be a more honest representation. And, obviously we've been able to leave photos with our reviews on Etsy for a while, but now on listings, those photos appear, on that exact listing. So if somebody leaves reviews with photos for that item, customers are going to be able to see it right there. And I think that more and more people start to shop like that. I think that we're going to see a lot more people start to shop, based on those review photos, just because people are wising up to it. They're understanding, like, oh, mock-ups, yuck. So if you can just bypass that part of the human brain, that it has an aversion towards mock-ups, and actually take genuine photos, even if the mock-up, I'm not a supermodel. I'm not one of these blonde
Of course
bombshells
you are.
that you
You
see in
are
these
supermodel.
mock-ups. But like, and I don't have the perfect background and the perfect little white kitchen holding coffee mug looking so cute. But that doesn't matter if somebody's just going to scroll down and look at the photos that are in the review section anyway. So if you can provide them with a photo that feels real, not that feels, the most beautiful, the most, dressed up, crazy, but the photo that feels real, sometimes that works. And I'm not saying that works for all industries. I'm saying that, maybe if things aren't working for you and you think your photos are beautiful, test some photos that you think are less beautiful, do some
Yeah.
split testing.
I'm just silly, but I'm looking at Starla's shirt and thinking there is the best way to get the best, like showing that your photo isn't a mock-up. If you've got a big design and you have the shirt in your hand. Some people like work really hard to make sure that it's sitting really, really flat, but you can see how the little design on Starla's shirt kind of
It's
folds
like
around the
scrumpled.
wrinkles and
Yeah.
things. Yeah, which is really, really hard to do in a mock-up. So, yeah, have the wrinkles in the shirt. Have it looking like it's on a real body, and that's just 100 times better. And I'm just thinking of one. It was actually a YouTuber was starting his own print-on-demand company, but doing custom designs of people's pets in a sort of old school band t-shirt way. And his first thing he did was of his dog, and he made the shirt. And his video for his Etsy listing was him showing the dog the shirt with the dog on it. It's like, that's so much better. And not only that, that can be used across all your social media as well. So much
Right.
more fun to order your shirt and have fun with it.
Let's see. Do people actually use Etsy as if it was TikTok scrolling just for fun? I do it every single day now. I've been trying to stay off of social media, and I feel like it's a better use of my time to find people on Etsy to follow. It's not stuff. I'm not shopping every day. I'm not buying every day, but I go through Etsy and favorite stuff almost every single day now. And I recommend people do that. If you're one of those people who wants something to do, you are addicted to this little thing, but you're sick of social media, scroll through the Etsy app. You learn a lot. Especially when you look at what Etsy's promoting, like in that curated feed, the types of photos that are being prioritized. I learn a lot just about what type of, products Etsy's showing me based on, my searches versus things that maybe they just think I like because they know that I'm a female in her 30s. I'm sure that they just know some general demographics about me because I get all kinds of things I would never wear, not related to anything I've searched, but, kind of girly. I assume they know that I'm a girl. So I do think that there's a lot that can be learned just by going through the general shopper experience. And, hey, not to mention, maybe you find something that you save or you heart right now and you come back to it for the holidays because you think a family member might like it. And then, you're further supporting the platform and other artists. So,
Yeah, that's what I really miss, and I hope it comes back, is Etsy used to actually be a community of
yes.
crafty people, and we used to sit and chat to each other, and I bought so much stuff. And now where you sort of have to search for things, and then I'm afraid I don't know how long it's going to take to come, and I'm not so sure about it. I feel less happy searching on Etsy, whereas the experience used to be so much better. But for do people scroll that much? Very much so. I just wanted to show this. This is my traffic stats for my shop. So this is the average this is from Google Analytics, the average position people were searching for and finding some of my items for. Now, I don't sell any wall shelves, but somebody searched for wall shelves and scrolled down to number 5,325 and clicked on my listing. So, do people scroll?
That's
Apparently
a
so.
lot of scrolling. That's a
Yeah.
lot of scrolling.
Yeah. I don't understand that, but I just went to look for that when Stella was talking. I'm like, they really do scroll. Yeah. I don't have the attention span for that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because I know a couple of years ago, Etsy said something like 90% of people are buying from what they see on the first page of search. It's something like 90%. I'm making up numbers now, but it was very, very high. I'd be interested to see if that number is going down, and they want it to, because they want people to spend more time browsing. And I think if you're buying higher end things, we absolutely should be. Like, if you're buying a pin or a sticker, yeah, you can buy the first one you see. But if you're buying a wedding dress, maybe take a bit of time. And that's actually a point I was going to mention with the photography, by the way. When we're saying good enough, good enough, depends what you're selling as well.
That's true.
If you're selling a high end thing, yeah, we don't want it to look fake, but you're still giving an experience to people by what they're seeing in the shop. If you're selling a quality, expensive item, take the time to take a quality photograph. It does make a difference.
All right. So I have an example for this one. Pam, if I Slack you a photo, will you be able to show it?
Yeah, you can share photos too, but yep, I
Oh,
can
can
do.
I?
Yep, you should have a present button at the
Oh,
bottom.
I didn't. It was in my Facebook, and I didn't want to. I've got everything configured
All right,
here.
cool. Yep.
But someone had asked, how do you suggest main image should be if you're selling 12 different variations, such as zodiac signs, birth flowers, etc.? So first of all, it's very listing specific. It's product specific. If you're selling couch pillows, for example, I would recommend making sure that you create individual listings for those items so that in search, people are able to search for their specific thing, see it in the thumbnail, and then maybe offer the additional options as other variations. But I would have 12 of each if you're doing something like a pillow. Now, the reason I'm showing you this photo, this is from my first shop. This was my six-figure shop that I ran for 9 years. We ran into some supplier issues, so I don't run it anymore. But for this particular set of products, or actually most of my products, my customers could select what type of crystal they wanted on their key necklaces. So all of my products, because I had so many different options available, I always added a color key on the far left-hand side back when Etsy had rectangular images. Obviously, now I would have to, switch to a square if I wanted these all to display. But, there's a lot of different ways that you can show how many options are available when it comes to multiple colors. This worked for me. I think that the real kicker here is how many variants are available and how many more listings would it create for you to create a version of each, and how much would it make your shop look unnecessarily like filled up. So for example, when I launched new key necklaces, I usually launch 20 to 30 new designs at a time. If I were to create a new listing for every single one of the colors that you see on the left for each of the 20 to 30 different key designs that I launched, that would be, for one, an astronomical amount of work creating that many listings and photographing them. But for two, it would have filled my shop up so fast. I would have had to list hundreds and hundreds of items at a time. So in my case, it wasn't realistic to list them all separately. However, if you're doing something like zodiac signs, a lot of people are going to specifically be searching for their astrological sign. And because of that, if I was searching for a Pisces themed throw pillow and I saw, an Aries themed pillow in my search results, I wouldn't click on that one. I would wait until I saw the one that connected to me, even if that variant was available and I didn't know that. Now, you could always add text to the thumbnail if you wanted to that says, more options available. As long as it's not an like here, how many variants did I have? Like I had all the 12 months and then I had, a bunch of additional random colors available as well. So for me, it wouldn't have made sense because there were so many variants available. That would have created so many listings. But again, I think that it's worth testing. If you're launching just, zodiac signs and birth flowers and there's 12 of each, that's 24 listings. And then maybe if for example, a February birth flower, you offer the other 11 months within the listing, but that main thumbnail, you advertise it as a February birth flower. It's going to create more pathways that lead to your shop, not to mention people specifically searching for February birth flower or Pisces themed, couch pillow. You're going to have more keyword capability there. And you're going to hopefully be able to list more products that create, more pathways that lead back to your shop. And ultimately, even if somebody searches for zodiac themed on its own, they'll still have the option to purchase the exact one that they need. So it's worth testing.
Yeah, very much so. I think the vast majority of people looking for zodiac things will be searching for the exact month, the exact zodiac thing rather than a random thing. So it's really, with something like that, it's very important that your listing matches it. Much easier to do. And then once you suck people in with whatever, all the other variants will be like, oh yeah, but my dad's birthday's on this month, let's see if we've got something here as well. But yeah, I think that's a good case for having very much the 12 different listings. In Starla's case, if it's something like a color, you would probably want to have the most popular colors as the individual listings, and then you can push the family of colors or show all the colors and everything. But yeah, if someone's searching for a blue dragon necklace or something, they want to see the blue when they search. Because we've all got stung. You click on something and you think you've got the thing you want and you buy it and it wasn't the thing, but you get the wrong color because you don't read things properly, because we're as bad as all the other buyers, really.
Let's see. Kat, I have items that fit in more than one section plus my gift section. So I have one listing in each section. Do you think this will confuse customers in search results? Probably not in search results. It could confuse them in your storefront. Just depending on if you had less listings and there were a lot of the same listings, then it might be confusing because they might be trying to compare them to figure out what the differences are. If you've got a lot of listings, they might not even notice that there's duplicates. Etsy recommends that you do that, but we don't really have any data to support it either way. I mean,
yeah,
we double up listings when we do things like split testing, but if you're, duplicating, are you duplicating a lot of listings and doing like 1, 2, 3 duplicates of everything that you have listed? Because that sounds like a lot of duplicates. That could be confusing, but then again, there's really no way to know.
Yeah. Well, the only way to know is to test it. The main thing that's going to confuse, she says only about 8 listings are duplicated. I can't see that being a big problem. In search results, the thing is, you're going to find that one listing is going to do better than the other. So then Etsy's going to be more likely to show that one listing. So it's very unlikely that customers are going to see 3 identical listings from your shop all on the same page. Etsy's a little more smart than that. But even if they do, well, it does happen in the, if you're advertising, you might see the same thing, and that doesn't confuse customers too much. So yeah, I think if you're testing and you've just got a few, it shouldn't be a problem, unless it starts to look like, unless you really worry that they'll be looking and going, what's the difference between these two? Is this seller trying to scam me with something? So yeah, but that's just something to be wary of. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've been getting a lot more messages from customers. They seem much more snippy at the start. They seem much more nasty to start with, and then once you deal with them for a bit, I'm getting the messages going, oh, thank goodness you're real, and you're really making this thing. I've had such bad experiences. So just be very careful that, like, don't duplicate. If something's a one of a kind, that might confuse people. They'll be like, why have you got lots of that listing if it's a one of a kind? So that's the only case I can think of, really.
Brian said, I make sure there is at least one cat hair on my shirt so that people know it's real. That's cat glitter. Excuse me, Brian.
Yes, absolutely done on purpose just to look authentic. Yes. We've all seen your cat, like, leaving the glitter as he goes past. Yep.
Let's see. Is that a cauldron mug? It is. My mom brought it back to me from Salem. I've always thought that it's really, really odd that it's not. Why are we celebrating? Why do we celebrate this? What's wrong with us? Why do we celebrate what happened?
Oh, we've got it here in my town. We've got there's walks and everything, because we were the last place in Europe where a bunch of witches were killed, basically.
Yay, mass murder.
Yay. But yeah, there's a little monument in town. The government came to give an official apology to all the victims and everything. It's really weird.
Let's see.
But it's a cool mug.
It's my favorite mug. I do drink out of it a lot. It's very big. Let's see. I've had random people message in super detail for custom designs. I message back and they don't even follow through. Yeah, I never, when I took commissions for my keys, I never put in a whole lot of time and effort until they paid half a deposit. I always requested, you have to pay half a deposit, pay half, and then I'll start discussing with you the ins and outs of your design for that exact reason. Granted, my pieces, for a commission, it was between $100 to $500. So I only, you had to at least give me $50 before I would even consider starting to discuss it with you. But if you're doing custom designs, for smaller industries, I can see how, even if they, anyway.
Yeah, and people do message a lot of people if they're looking. That's very common. So you don't have a customer till they've made the order. So yes. What I do, look at the messages, look at the questions they're asking, and see how do these need answered for your other customers. Are your custom listings too complicated? And see how you can simplify the process, see what FAQs you can put in, and see what canned responses you can have in your messages. And basically, when someone messages, like I do, most of my work's custom work. When someone messages and asks a load of things, basically I have the message that says, this is the process. You order from me. That gets your place in the queue. You send me the pictures of what you want me to create. I'll create it for you. I'll send images back. I won't ship it till you're 100% happy. They get the whole spiel of how it's done. that's nice and fine. And if I hear back from them, then great. But they get the minimum until they pay. And I'm not even as nice as Starla. They pay 100%. And because, like, if it's coming up like the busy times of the year, it can take me a week or two to make an item, but a busy time of the year, I could get 10, 20 orders in an hour. So I'm not going to sit and spend all that time dealing. That's very uncommon. If you follow my shop, I can also get one order in a month. So I'm not bragging there. I'm not doing that great, but you can get busy times. So it's just like they're not my customer until they've paid 100%. And
Yeah.
that in so many ways it helps. It gets rid of the people just going, well, you make it for me. I'm asking 4 other people to make it for me and I'll pay the one that I like the best. You're not. I fell for things like that in the past. But if they pay the money, then they're your dedicated customer. They get your time, basically.
Yeah, I once had, I started charging the 50% when I had a customer who they had just had the craziest design. Like I really, one thing I hated about accepting custom orders was that customers thought they knew what they wanted, but I wish that they would just trust me a little bit more to be able to create something good. Because when you say, I want a key necklace, but I want a dragon on it, and I want a fairy on it, and I want 16 crystals on it, and I want big angel wings on it, and I want this and that and this and that. And then, when I'm sitting here like looking at this completed piece, I'm just like, I don't even want to post pictures of this on social media. It's so ugly. Like give me a general theme for what you want, and let me have some creative liberty to make sure that it looks good. And I did occasionally have customers who were like, "Oh, that didn't turn out how I thought it would." Well, this is exactly what you requested. But I did have a customer once who had just this insane order, all these crazy details, and the product ended up turning out really cute. It was a steampunk dragon themed key. It turned out very, very good. But then she had, I can't remember if she had paid a partial on it or what the case was. It's been so long, but it came time for her to pay for the order, either the remaining balance or the full balance if I hadn't charged her a deposit. I can't remember. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to be that much." And I was very clear about my prices. Like, maybe she thought because we were talking that I was going to give her like a big discount or something. I feel like she thought like we were buddying up. And I told her, I said, well, I'll hold it for a week, but after that, it's going in my shop and I'm selling it. And I did. And I sold it in my shop for the same exact price that she would have paid. It was a custom order, and I listed it as a completed piece for the exact same price that she was supposed to pay me, and it sold immediately. And she was super upset about it. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where make sure that you have the money ahead of time and don't invest a bunch of time. And in fact, a lot of like costume makers and cosplay people on Etsy, they charge $1 for you to even get into their inbox, for them to consider you. Like, you'll see listings for, custom costume, and you have to buy, the custom costume slot for $1 to even get yourself in their queue for consideration to start discussing your idea, because they're so busy. So don't feel bad about like doing things like that, charging ahead of time, charging for what you're worth, especially if you're investing in supplies, you're investing in time. And if you're taking custom orders alongside like pre-made products that are already in your shop, always charge more for the custom order, even if the end product is smaller or less designed than what your pre-made stuff is. Sometimes my customers would want relatively small pieces compared to big things that were already available in my shop, and the little thing would end up costing more, just because I'm not sitting with an assembly line making a bunch of them, with a flow. I'm having to sit and think and, order special parts and find special things just to make this one single piece. It's taking me out of a creative flow where I would otherwise be making a lot of different pieces. I am only focused on your piece, making sure that this one single thing costs, or is worth my time. So don't be afraid to do that. Your work is valuable. Your time is valuable. The supplies that you buy, the tools that you buy to run your business, I mean, every single little bit of it. Think about, like, if you're in the US, I'm not like this for everywhere, but when you're in the US, think about when you go to the hospital and you have to pay an astronomical amount of money just for a quick pop into the hospital. Well, it's because they're paying the doctors, and you're paying for, the years of their experience, and you're paying for use of their big fancy machinery. Like, yes, they already own it, but they're getting their money's worth off of you. So it's kind of the same thing. If you're having to use a big 3D printer, well, yeah, you might already own it, but you had to pay for it. You had to invest in it. So don't be afraid to charge that money.
Yeah. And like I'm seeing people saying, oh, they don't do custom orders anymore. And it is tough, but you can make custom orders easier. You
Mm-hmm.
can like get in your head what you're offering and make your custom listing. Like I do that. I have 3 sizes. Now I know a lot of people who make the things that I make, it's almost like message me and I'll figure out how complicated the order is. For me, that was too much work. There's too much backward and forwards and everything. So I have this. I have one here. I have this size. Whoop, it's too dark now. I have this size. It doesn't matter if it's got curly hair, if it's got long hair, if it's got lots of hair. That's it. It's that size is that price. Just because it makes life simple for me. So if you were doing necklaces, it could be this number of gemstones, this number of different pieces. If you're doing custom paintings, it's this much price for one figure, it's this price for 2 figures. It's this much of the head and shoulders, or it's a full body. Just be strict, because otherwise a customer will buy your cheapest thing and ask for the moon on a stick, basically.
Yeah. I eventually I did stop doing custom orders, and I started doing the thing where they just picked out the crystal and the rose. Like, if there was a rose on it, they could pick their color and they could customize it, with they could kind of personalize it with their birthstone. But I did stop taking custom orders for that exact reason, just because it does. But you can make it as complicated as you want, or as easy as you want. The thing is, just think ahead. Make sure that you're always thinking about the future, and think about, what if I had a holiday season where I had 100 people order one of these? Like, what would I do? And I didn't think I would ever get to that point until it happened. And I did have 100 custom orders before a holiday season, and things didn't ship on time, and it was extremely stressful. And then I wasn't able to stock my shop with normal products that people want, that were ready to ship. I struggled to make time to package those orders for people, because I was spending all my time making all these custom pieces. And I was, I was very time poor and money rich. And it's like, it's always one or the other when you're an Etsy seller. You're either time poor and money rich, or you're money poor and time rich. So you start out money poor and time rich, and you think, oh, I've got plenty of time to be doing all this. But then it shifts and you have no more time, and you're making money, but you're like, oh, this isn't sustainable. Suddenly the money doesn't mean anything because I'm so miserable. I'm willing to take a pay cut in order to be a little less miserable. And that's why I got rid of custom orders.
Yeah. But that's why it's a good idea to streamline your custom orders if you can. I'm just thinking, like, if you were an artist and there's certain steps that you have to do for every painting. Say you always have to prime the canvases, or you always paint the same kind of background. If you only had this number of sizes, you could have a few ready in advance that you just put the custom bit on, so you simplify it for yourself. I know we want to think like we're great artists and everything's individual and wonderful, but we also have bills to pay. So the more, yes, your touch is in it, but the more you can sort of streamline your process, it's much better. For the boom and bust is real on Etsy. You can have a crazy day and then a horrible 2 months. It's not even a day. If something goes viral, you can have a crazy half hour and that puts your whole shop off. I've been there. It's mental. But yeah, so what you can prepare when the quiet times, they make a huge difference.
All right, guys. Well, it's 4 on the dot. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, if the 883 of you that it says are watching now are real people, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm starting to think that you're all bots since nobody commented. Those numbers are not consistent with our average, but if you're here, subscribe. We're here every Thursday. And down below in the video description, you can follow Pam and I on our separate channels as well. But yeah, guys,
Yeah.
thanks so much.
If you're a real person, give us a thumbs up, because bots can't like things.
Exactly.
Just because I'm really intrigued how many of you are actually real. I know there will be a lot of you.
25 likes, so a couple of them are real.
Yeah, but no, thanks for joining us anyway. Hope you all enjoyed this. It's been fun, right? And we'll see you next week.
It wasn't easy, no, but with eRank, we're trending now. I dreamed of topping all the charts. I wanted sales to blow up. Remember long nights crafting, no one clicking on my stuff. But I signed up for eRank. Now my shop's a rising star.